A very warm welcome to the Property Developers and Investors podcast. It's Nigel Greene here from the Accommodation, and I am super delighted to have with me today Latoya McDonald. Hi, Latoya.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. And how are you?
Yes, good, thanks. Yeah, excited for today.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And thanks very much for joining us today. I'm sure this insight's going to be really, really brilliant, and the listeners are going to really engage with all the learnings that you've had thus far. So I mean, just for the listeners, would you mind introducing yourself and maybe just give a bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. So as people can probably tell, I'm not from England or Cornwall. I'm originally from New Zealand, so I've got real estate backgrounds there. Moved to Cornwall in 2012 and kind of been on this journey of I had a decent sized rent-to-rent business. I've got the letting agency. We've done service accommodation, HMO portfolio. So it's everything's property.
Oh, amazing. You've got so many things on the go at the moment. Honestly, I don't think we've got long enough in this podcast to go through everything, but we'll do our best. We'll do our best. I mean, what made you choose property as a vehicle to wealth and success?
Gosh, that's an interesting one. I think really, probably if I think back to it, and I have thought about this a couple of times as well, but I got into real estate in my late teens, so into selling real estate. And if I really, really, really think back to, because my family weren't in property at all, never, I come from a completely different life that I live now. And when I was in high school, my auntie worked in a real estate company, and she was a divorced lady, and hang out with my cousins, and I could see she was doing well for herself, and I guess it kind of got me thinking, what's different between her family and my family, and just little things like that, really. And I think that kind of got me interested in it, and then I left high school and no qualifications, but I did start out in a real estate company in New Zealand. You walk in, you have a dedicated receptionist. So that's where I started, in a real estate company doing that.
That's amazing. And it's really interesting to hear, how the family and sometimes family members influence your decisions going forward.
You just, sometimes it's not until you sit down you properly think, where did this come from? Because it was not my family life at all, not my immediate growing up environment to be in property. So
I know that. Very similar story to me. The journey to property was quite diverse. My dad was a policeman, so that's where I was destined to go. You see, that was kind of the route, by being influenced by dad. I also was quite handy with my hands, so I enjoyed tinkering with all sorts of things. And my second was to become an electrician. That was my thing.
Oh wow, always a good skill.
Yes, that's right. And just by a bit of unfortunate situation, I suppose, but I was going all the way through the application process to become a cadet in the police service. And at the time, the Prime Minister disbanded the cadet service to be able to go into the police cadets at the age of 16. So I was leaving school going, I haven't got anywhere to go now. So I fell back to my option 2, which was an electrician. So I did an apprenticeship. And as I was going through that journey, it was kind of the inherent distrust of pensions, really. I didn't really understand it. I couldn't really connect with it either. But what I could connect with was real estate, because I could see it, I could touch it, I could go and drive and knock on the front door kind of thing. And that's how I got influenced. But it's really interesting, the journey one takes, isn't it, to get to your kind of career destination.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well that when I started working in these real estate companies, just doing the admin side, it was very I love people watching in general, but watching these different real estate agents, it's 100% commission in New Zealand. So if you don't sell a house, you don't earn anything. You will starve to death, and you will you not die, but look, you will just have nothing. So you've got to sell. And it was very interesting watching these real estate agents and how, you know, some could do so well and make so much money, and then others just couldn't make anything in 6 months, and they'll gone, then they'll back to going into a normal, what I call a normal job, because real estate agency in New Zealand is not your typical normal job, you know. So, and I loved watching that, and I quite quickly realized that I've got no education, I come from no money. If I want to have a life that I dream of, I'm going to have to really knuckle down and do some work, and it's there if I want it, and I can be like those successful real estate agents. But it was just very interesting watching it.
Absolutely incredible. I'm sure your auntie was very successful as well. It certainly sounds like she was.
Yeah, strong woman.
Fantastic. I mean, you know, maybe tell us a little bit about the key milestones and achievements in your property journey thus far.
Yeah, I think the achievements, I mean, when I moved here in 2012, I moved straight to Cornwall. My partner's Cornish, so that's where we moved to. And I'd had a small portfolio in Christchurch in New Zealand, and with an ex-partner and earthquakes and all sorts of situations like that. So I had nothing. I moved to the UK with nothing. That portfolio was gone, and you know, I was starting from scratch. And one thing that I knew was I needed a pot of cash to be able to buy. It's not cheap to buy in Cornwall, even back then. It wasn't cheap. So you know, I needed that pot of money. So I looked around at what I could do, and rent to rent was something that would give me my pot of cash to go and buy some assets. So so I hit the ground running in 2012 with that, and did very well. Looking back now, I realized I thought, oh, people must like me. They're giving me their large properties. They must really trust me and like me. No, I think people just really wanted to get rid of their big houses, and it was just perfect timing for me doing rent to rent, and people wanting to, they couldn't rent these big properties, you know, so I was solving a problem back then. And so I did really well with that. We used the money to do HMOs. HMOs were our thing and still are our thing, a big love. And yeah, so that was a pretty big milestone to be able to do that successfully. And that business has kind of transitioned into a Cornish letting agency, so it does lettings and property management. It's known for its HMOs as well, HMO management. So that's a nice wee thing to have as well. Like it's a local business, and I love it. So that's quite a good milestone. My networking, I do networking in Cornwall. I've got, I run Cornwall's property networking event, but I also have a business event that I do for property construction and trade. And that there, you know, I wouldn't say that I financially benefit from that, but it's something to give back to. I love the whole support local business and stuff, and it's a way for me to give back to that business community, spend my time with them, introduce them to people, and you know, and see that little group thrive. So I love doing that. So it's quite a milestone as well. Yeah, I think that's a couple of milestones anyway, or a few.
Absolutely, and there's many more. I know there's many more there, but no, it's just really interesting, the migration from, you know, starting to you know, getting a lettings business, and you know, moving on to the estate agent side of things, and all the rest of it. It's just really interesting. And you know, the rent to rent is great, because you're gaining the experience, the actual on the ground, you know, boots on the ground experience, aren't you, to be able to then transition into your business where you're offering that service to other people. So it's
definitely, it's what I've, you know, all the systems and procedures I've got now were thanks to that business taking off, because it was quite a chaotic time. So what we've got now is thanks to that. so yeah, no more chaos.
That's fantastic. Now, Latoya, we know that things don't always go according to plan, do they?
No,
so maybe you could just take us through something that you've encountered unexpectedly and how you overcame that challenge.
Overcome. So gosh, this is an interesting one. I think
it's a good question.
I think business-wise, I think there was a period there where I got perhaps caught up in the business. I guess this could be quite a controversial thing to say, but having a letting agency, in my opinion, will not make you rich. It's not going to make you loads and loads of cash. It can be a time suck. So you've got to really think about why you're doing it. You've got to be, doing it for other reasons other than just income and money, so whether you want to have things managed a certain way or whatnot. So I got kind of sucked into the business for a while there, and so to actually change my mindset and change what I was doing to bring people into the business so that I can be focusing on other things, bringing assets in, whether that's through JVs or lease options or buying, bringing the assets in, because that's the money. Absolutely. The letting agency is there to manage it and do exactly what I want my way. Yeah. But yeah, because we do a lot for other people. We've got a lot of landlords that we work for as well. So the letting agency isn't just for my portfolio, and you can easily get sucked into doing low hourly rate tasks. And that sucked me in for a while. I had to dig myself out of that little hole.
By getting more resource on, is that how?
So having a team, virtual assistants, bringing them into the letting agency, bringing in a lot more systems, and getting rid of the phone. The phone for a long time, I never realized, coming from New Zealand where it's 100% commission, if you don't answer that phone within 3 rings, money's gone. You better answer that phone real quick. So I was programmed into that. And it wasn't until I moved to this country and my partner was like, you are glued to that phone. Like, you are really glued to it. And I thought, God, I never thought about it like that. It doesn't matter whether I was mid-conversation with them. We could be in a serious conversation, that phone would ring and it would take priority over everything. So by letting go and passing over the phone, that was a milestone, because that was a big thing to me. I thought I have this thing that I call, it's called self-employed syndrome. Only I'm good at that. Only I can do that the best. And the phone was that for me. So
absolutely,
getting rid of that was a good milestone as well, actually. Yeah.
So, and I think with that lettings business, being really embedded into the property market with your networking as well that you do, every single month, it just gives you the opportunity to access opportunities and deals that may come along. You'll see, and I'm sure you do see, landlords where they're trying to maybe dispose of portfolios or dispose of properties, those sorts of things. And you've kind of got to be there, haven't you? So although, as you say, it's probably not going to set the world on fire in terms of income, but it's almost like a conduit to something else. And I think
it really is. It's so we have bought some of the portfolios, so that has been good. But also the next stage, we're bringing somebody into the business again who is going to be doing focusing on the commercial side for us, so bringing in commercial deals and that sort of thing. So that's another thing coming in. So somebody else will be in charge of that and setting that all up for us under the business. But as again, feeding that pipeline of opportunities, that it's just opportunities. You've got to do something with it, but it's feeding that pipeline.
Absolutely. It's certainly an ambition of ours, at a point in time when the time is right to of course we go out at the moment and we use external sources to manage our portfolio, but there's got to be a point in time where you kind of start to bring that in-house, and then you, as you say, you get so close to not only your own portfolio in terms of the management and your tenants and all the rest of it through your staff members, but I think you can then offer those services to third parties, and that's where the opportunity could come. So it's almost like the virtual circle, isn't it? Generating pipeline and away you go. So that's really great, really great. So what lessons have you learnt along the way?
Lessons along the way are to... this is a tough one again. I want to say be more trusting, but I'm also, my personality is quite, I don't know, at some point in time, you've got to trust working with other people. You can't do everything alone. And I'm sure, just the same as yourself, you've had some amazing relationships and you've had other people perhaps pull on you, and it really can affect you and how you deal with people. But I think really a lesson would be just trust people a little bit more, especially with my business. Bringing this guy in to do the commercial stuff, would I have done that 10 years ago? Or would I have done it myself? So now I think I've learned now, like, it's okay to trust, it's okay to give it a go, put some things in place for safety, contract, things like that, but give it a go, make that step.
Absolutely. I think it can be the entrepreneur's curse, can't it? That, as individuals, and to be entrepreneurial, you're kind of very, I'm going to do everything, I'm going to control everything, because nobody else can do it better than me, surely, this sort of thing. But that is so limiting, isn't it? So limiting, and you get limited by the number of days in the week, or the number of hours in the day, and therefore you just won't be able to flourish and grow. And over the years, you're quite right. You bump into great people, and they stick with you, and they're just doing it. It's almost like a part of the family type relationship. But equally, you can have other people that it doesn't quite work. This sort of thing, but I've always found it starts with the gut, how you feel. If something's not right, it just doesn't feel quite right, that sort of thing, and generally plays out to be not the right decision. But I think we just have to go through these processes, take the positives from them, and just move on. So that's that's certainly my experience. Really, really good. So what are your plans for the future?
Oh, plans for the future. So Luke and I are on a bit of a mission down here in Cornwall. I know it's the same everywhere else in the UK, but we've got a housing crisis down here. It is quite bad. Also because we are a holiday destination, and thank you Section 24 for helping the holiday market, who probably didn't really need any help down in Cornwall, but Section 24 has been a bit of a killer here, and we need more rental properties. So Luke and I are on a bit of a mission to bring empty or underused commercial properties back into use as residential accommodation, ASTs, your standard tenants. That's what we want to do. So anyone who's interested in that same mission, happy to connect, because I think it's not just in Cornwall, but it's really tough down here. The letting agency, we've almost become I don't know, I cannot tell you how many times people email us, message us on social media, friends of friends contact us and say the same old story. This person's going to be homeless soon. They've got, 2 kids, and you just not become used to it. But it's a story we hear constantly. We need more accommodation down here, more rental accommodation. So, absolutely. And I don't think Section 24 is going to get reversed anytime soon. So we might as well just do it ourselves and sort out the problem.
Absolutely. And your strategy, we've been working together for nearly a year now, which is amazing. And your strategy of finding commercial property that's a bit tired and lost its purpose and direction in the world, to be able to repurpose it into beautiful residential accommodation units, and do your bit to be able to support society in that location, I think is extremely admirable. And also it enables you to grow your portfolio in quick fashion as well, which is equally as good. So just keep going. That's the thing. Just got to keep going and finding those opportunities, which is great. So Mark wrote a book, and he got together a number of authors a couple of years ago now, and it was called Advice to Your Younger Self. And I was very privileged, actually. Mark asked me to write a chapter in the book, and it's certainly, those that know me, that's certainly outside my comfort zone, in kind of extending my past into the future as well. So it took me to a great place, actually, where it multiple levels. One, it enabled me to tick that box and kind of get it all out in terms of my history. But also because I've got 4 children, multi-generational issues are really top of my priority in life as well. And it's enabled me to use my children to proofread the chapter. And they learn just by reading the chapter a lot more about me probably than they knew actually in the first instance, which is really quite interesting. So they critiqued it within an inch of its life, and
A bit.
yeah, we got the chapter out there, and it's a wonderful book, Advice to Younger Self, and all the proceeds go to charity and have raised many thousands of pounds for a number of well-deserving charities over the years, which is great. So I'd put that question to you. So if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would probably say take more risks. Yeah, I'm a very not a warrior, but I will always be thinking of I'm not a pessimistic either, but I will always be thinking of the good but also the bad. So I think if I could talk to my 18, 19, 20-year-old in real estate, I would say take more risks. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. And it is, isn't it? Life, business, entrepreneurship is an amazing journey, and we're going to make mistakes, and that's just the course of life. And I know, the kind of the generation I've come from, it's, making a mistake is a really, really bad thing. But actually, I think you've got to make mistakes, and because it's the quickest way of learning. If we could all adopt the policy of the airline industry, and even Formula One, it's a total no blame culture, and it's all about constant improvement. And the only way you improve is by analysing what didn't go quite so well, and then trying to find a plan to improve, and then implement that, and everybody grows together, which is just absolutely wonderful. So there we go. So if you haven't read the book, read the book.
I've got it here.
Yeah. Fantastic. Look, Latoya, it's been absolutely wonderful. People, how can they follow you or get in touch in the future?
Yeah, so if you search outsourcing your property business, Latoya McDonald, you'll find me. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. This as well will be going on my YouTube. So I've got a YouTube, and I've also got my own podcast now, which I'm so excited about. So this will also be going on my podcast too. So you can pretty much find me everywhere.
Fantastic. You can interview me then on that one.
Yeah. It'll be a good old drilling.
How long you got? Fantastic. Look, Latoya, it's been absolutely wonderful. You always, when we meet, you've always got the sunshine is always out, when we meet, and it's just fantastic. Your personality is just great, and I wish you all the best going forward. And Mark and myself have been delighted to work with you, and Luke, along the journey, and continue to do so. So thank you very, very much for joining us today, and sharing a bit of your journey.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So that's the Property Developers and Investors podcast. It's Nigel Greene with Latoya McDonald. Thank you very much.